On December 2, 2025, Netflix released a documentary that instantly skyrocketed to become the platform's second most watched title, pulling in 21.8 million views in just 6 days. It wasn't a Marvel blockbuster, but rather 50 Cent's 4-part expose on Diddy, adding fuel to the fire. Leaked footage surfaced showing Diddy asking for hand sanitizer immediately after hugging fans in Harlem, a small moment that spoke volumes about the man behind the persona. This is the story of how this documentary became a fate worse than prison and how 50 Cent effectively dismantled Diddy's legacy. During its debut week, the series titled Sean Combs, The Reckoning was outperformed only by the final season of Stranger Things, directed by Alex Stapleton and executive produced by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. The project arrived with perfect timing, dropping just 2 months after Diddy's sentencing. While he was still dominating the news cycle, the documentary features footage of Diddy in the tense days leading up to his New York arrest in September 2024, opens with bombshell exclusives, including the personal journal entries of Bad Boy co-founder Kirk Burrows. These handwritten notes provide a rare look into the financial inner workings of Diddy's private life and the complexities that came with it. Furthermore, the series draws from 13 months of recordings captured by producer Rodney "Lil Rod" Jones, offering a raw, real-time look inside the operation with evidence that had never been made public until now.
It was very interesting to watch a man who's known for his brand presence. You know, he has a really amazing knack for marketing and all of that, and how he was sort of taking that into account in how he was coming off to the public.
Episode 1, titled Pain vs. Love, traces the transformation of a kid from Harlem into a global mogul as Sean Combs evolves into Puff Daddy. The documentary features interviews with early collaborators from Uptown Records and Bad Boy Entertainment. While revisiting the City College Stampede tragedy, the loss of 9 lives that day established a troubling pattern that would seemingly repeat throughout his career. Episode 2 shifts focus to the explosive rise of Bad Boy Records. Fueled by the immense talent of Biggie Smalls, it covers the dangerous rivalry with Death Row Records and the rapidly escalating violence of the East Coast versus West Coast feud. In the aftermath of Biggie's murder, the series explores how Diddy's empire was essentially built on a foundation of tragedy and bloodshed events that, despite their horror, somehow continued to propel his success forward.
Says that he only leans into his Black roots when it benefits him. So you watch his rise on Black culture and Black people and how much he abused and rode on other people's talent.
Episode 3, titled Official Girl, documents the era following Biggie's death, where Diddy's career reached new heights, even as a string of violent incidents followed in his wake. Alarming allegations begin to emerge, detailing abusive relationships with both Bad Boy artists and romantic partners. A pivotal moment features former Danity Kane member Aubrey O'D, who breaks the industry's silence by speaking out about her experience as a Bad Boy artist, describing a culture of exploitation, control, and systemic abuse of power. The narrative intensifies with the testimony of Clayton Howard. The former employee describes the freak-off encounters, alleging that male workers were transported across state lines for the purpose of prostitution. He details staged performances that were filmed without consent, laying out evidence that points directly towards significant Monarch violations. The footage everyone is talking about shows Diddy back in Harlem, hugging fans and smiling for the cameras. It looks like the king returning to his kingdom, but what happens the moment the cameras stop rolling reveals the true man behind the mask.
I gotta take it back. Like the amount of people that actually I'm coming in contact with, like that's what I have to do.
Inside the vehicle, a completely different story emerges. The warmth instantly disappears, and the performance drops. That chilling duality was captured perfectly on camera.
They said he only comes home when the world spit him back out. He gets in the car and starts to talk about how he needs hand sanitizer and he needs to clean himself because he was out among the people and he felt so dirty.
This moment became symbolic of everything the documentary sought to expose. A man playing a calculated role for the public while harboring deep contempt in private.
It shows you his character.
Was that the reason for including it?
Yeah, I mean, what's the odds that you would do that in front of a camera? Like that's one of the moments where he forgot he was on tape.
Episode 4, titled Blink Again, brings several accusers forward with shocking claims of abuse. These allegations eventually triggered the federal investigation that led to his 2024 arrest and high-profile trial. The documentary even features interviews with 2 jurors who explain the reasoning behind the conviction. Director Alexandria Stapleton made it clear that the goal of the series extended beyond just collecting allegations. It was about providing a comprehensive start-to-finish look at the entire story.
I think it's important to also let people know that the show is not completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean. We weren't trying to just get the highlights, the salacious details, that the real goal was to storytell.
The documentary addresses the 2016 surveillance footage, the hotel assault published by CNN in May 2020, foreshowing visible violence and undeniable evidence presented without a filter. For the first time, two jurors from the trial provide unique insight into the verdict and their perceptions of the relationship dynamics involved. They speak openly about how they reached a mixed verdict, finding Combs guilty of 2 prostitution-related offenses while clearing him of racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Critics have responded positively, with the series earning over 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Reviewers have praised the work as meticulous and sober rather than sensational, describing it as a smoothly made, exhaustive investigation with well-balanced allegations that leave a deep impact. The Guardian awarded it 4 stars, and it holds a Metacritic score of 67, indicating generally favorable reviews. It is being recognized for serious journalism rather than tabloid sensationalism, with professional production values that have earned it significant industry credibility. Comparisons were immediately drawn to Surviving R. Kelly due to its dark emotional nature and the way it exposes a powerful figure. By documenting a clear pattern of abuse and finally giving victims a voice, the series has created a cultural reckoning, a Me Too moment for hip-hop that demands true industry accountability.
This blew my mind, and I have to say 50 Cent is out here doing the Lord's work. We need to protect him at all costs. I think if we put him on the Epstein files, he'd get them all released in days.
He sure would.
I don't want to give anything away, but he gets into some very high-profile unsolved crimes with very, very interesting and compelling new information.
But here's where it gets interesting. 50 Cent makes his mission statement very clear. He emphasizes that this isn't just a personal beef, but a story with significant human impact. In a joint statement with Stapleton, he explained that the goal was to secure justice for the victims and break the long-standing silence within hip-hop, speaking up when no one else would. For decades, a culture of silence had protected the industry's most powerful figures, and 50 Cent decided it was finally time for that to end.
And for both of you, one of the other questions fans are asking is, there are a lot of great and powerful interviews in this, but where are A-list celebrities? Where are people in his orbit?
On December 7th, 2023, 50 Cent made a major announcement. All proceeds from this project would be donated to victims of misconduct allegations against Diddy. By pledging this financial compensation, he effectively put his money where his mouth is. When discussing Cassie's story specifically, 50 Cent acknowledged the unique vulnerability she faced, highlighting the dangers of entering such a high-stakes industry at such a young age.
I believe Cassie's a victim in all this because she came in as she's like 18, like 19 years old. In the very beginning, after a while, over time, you conditioned for it.
While Cassie was invited to participate in the series, she ultimately chose to decline. 50 Cent personally spoke with her and her husband, Alex Finn, to gain a deeper understanding of how events transpired, ensuring he respected her wishes while still moving forward with the project. The producers emphasized that remaining silent would have sent a dangerous message to the hip-hop community about what kind of behavior the culture is willing to accept.
Look, if I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as the hip-hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say...
Perhaps the most delicious piece of irony, the very footage everyone is now analyzing was originally captured by a videographer Diddy himself hired. He had brought them on to control his narrative during his final days of freedom, only for the footage to eventually expose the truth he was trying to hide.
The clip we just saw and other parts throughout the episodes is from a videographer that was hired by Sean Combs to document the days before he got arrested.
5 months of production were already underway before Stapleton was even brought on board. During that time, 50 Cent was deeply involved in the project, personally seeking out those closest to Diddy who were finally willing to step forward and tell the truth. This wasn't a rushed production. It was a methodical, comprehensive investigation built on extensive research. Reflecting on the documentary's massive success, 50 Cent acknowledged that the project not only exceeded expectations, but fully achieved its mission of bringing the truth to light.
I expected it to be number one. I told Alex in advance that she should expect it and prepare a war speech in advance because I got a chance to see the details of it.
The documentary team began their work long before an indictment was even on the table. At that time, people were absolutely terrified to speak because it wasn't yet clear that Diddy would actually face prison time. The fear of retribution and retaliation was a very real barrier they had to overcome.
I think that people also have to remember, this kind of goes into why some people chose to be a part of it and some people didn't. we started this before there was an indictment. So, you know, the air, the vibe, you know, when we first started this.
That is exactly what makes the testimony so powerful. These individuals chose to speak out despite knowing the immense risks involved. Their courage brought the entire music industry under intense scrutiny, raising critical questions about how Diddy was able to operate unchecked for so many decades and what systemic failures enabled his behavior. Director Alex Stapleton reflected on the insights shared by the jurors, highlighting the sheer complexity of the case they faced and the weight of their deliberations.
I think that, you know, it is important for people to realize that they do make very valid points. You know, first of all, I think that all of the jurors obviously stood behind what the decision was.
Bad boy artists describe a world of extreme exploitation and control, where everyone was afraid to speak out because Diddy held the keys to their careers. For years, he could silence anyone with the flick of a wrist. However, 50 Cent pointed out something crucial. The old model of control Diddy relied on simply doesn't work in today's music industry. The landscape has changed, and the walls Diddy built to protect his narrative have finally come crumbling.
If you think the artist that would have been a writer because he's like 600 pounds and they're saying he's not marketable. If he's still a talented artist, they would have took those songs and let him be a writer for someone they thought had a higher probability of sales.
The era of the old music business is officially over. Today, artists connect with their audiences long before they ever step into a record company's office. Technology has effectively dissolved the absolute power that executives like Diddy once wielded. Looking ahead, 50 Cent shared his perspective on what the future might hold for the disgraced mogul.
I'm not sure, a comeback like in music?
Yeah, I mean, or are people gonna just be over this?
Well, I don't think he'll have a comeback with people aware that he's behind it.
Perhaps Diddy will continue making music behind the scenes because that is all he knows. However, public support is a ship that has officially sailed, and this documentary made sure of that. Sean Combs, The Reckoning doesn't just document a fall from grace, it systematically dismantles the mythology of a man who spent decades meticulously controlling his narrative. Every interview, every frame of footage, and every allegation builds toward one undeniable conclusion. The empire wasn't just crumbling, it was already destroyed. The documentary simply made sure the world witnessed exactly how it happened. And with 21.8 million views in just 6 days, they definitely saw it. Beyond dismantling Diddy's public image, the series raises a bigger question. Why was 50 Cent the only one willing to tell this story while so many others stayed quiet? This moment was 20 years in the making, 2 decades of bad blood, failed business deals, and uncomfortable encounters. It all led to 50 Cent becoming the loudest voice calling out Diddy, when the rest of the industry remained silent. Their beef didn't start with a viral diss track or a social media feud. It began in a New York City studio around 2001, back when 50 Cent was broke, hungry, and writing verses just to collect a check. One of the people he was writing for was Diddy. 50 never forgot that early dynamic. While it was a working relationship, it was never a friendship. He later told The Hollywood Reporter that he wouldn't even use that word because there was no real disappointment when they stopped speaking. 50 ghostwrote verses including Diddy's bars on G-Deps. Let's get it. Getting paid pennies and receiving no proper credit. He walked away feeling used, and those seeds of resentment were planted deep. By 2002, things appeared cordial on the surface, but the tension was already simmering underneath. 50 appeared on a revamped Notorious B.I.G. track alongside Diddy, and Puff even presented him with the Best Rap Video Award at the 2003 MTV. On camera, it was all smiles, but beneath that professional courtesy, the foundation was already fraying. The real breaking point came in 2005. Maze, having become a pastor and attempting a rap comeback, desperately wanted out of his bad boy contract. 50 Cent offered to buy him out and sign him to G. Publicly, Diddy claimed to support the move, but privately, he allegedly demanded an unreasonable $2 million. 50 refused. The deal collapsed, and their relationship never recovered. September 2006 marked the point of no return. 50 released The Bomb, a diss track that crossed every line. He accused Diddy of having inside knowledge about who killed Biggie Smalls before mocking Diddy's famous white parties in the Hamptons, famously rapping, "I guess this means I won't be invited to the white parties." By 2007, things got complicated when they somehow ended up on a track together for the I Get Money remix, featuring 50, Diddy, and Jay-Z bragging about their Forbes rankings. They even performed together at Madison Square Garden during It was a professional truce for the sake of appearances, but the underlying tension remained. 50's stories about their personal interactions reveal exactly why he found Diddy so unsettling. He claims that at Chris Lighty's wedding, Diddy approached him with an offer that made his skin crawl. He asked to take me shopping, 50 recalled years later. I thought that was the weirdest thing in the world because that's something a man says to a woman. I had to move away before I messed up the wedding. 50 also recounted hearing Diddy tell Fabi, "Me and you, we need to party," to which 50's reaction was immediate. "What are you talking about? When people say that to me, I get uncomfortable." By 2010, 50 was back on the offensive. During an interview with Hot 93.7 FM, he dismissed Diddy's entire artistic credibility, stating, "Puff's not an artist. An artist is someone who actually writes something on a record." A month later, 50 launched an online petition demanding Diddy let Biggie rest in peace, arguing that Biggie's legacy should never have become a crutch for Combs. In 2018, Diddy tried to downplay the animosity during an appearance on The Breakfast Club, smiling as he claimed, "I don't have any beef with Fif. He loves me. You really think that's hate? He just doesn't want to be my friend." Then, the rivalry shifted to the vodka wars. While Diddy was the face of CROC through a lucrative deal with the 50 Cent partnered with Effin' Vodka in 2014, taking their battle from the studio to the liquor shelf. The hip-hop beef transitioned into a fierce business competition, creating a new battlefield where 50 Cent could attack Diddy on every available platform. During a 2018 appearance on Drink Champs, Y took a direct shot at CROC, claiming, "It isn't even vodka. It's grape juice that says it's made with vodka. Mine is made from Dutch wheat and distilled 5 times. There's a lot less sugar. When you wake up with a headache after finishing a bottle of The Rock, just remember, I told you I was smarter." In November 2018, a rare moment of humanity surfaced when Kim Porter tragically passed away from pneumonia complications. 50 Cent set the rivalry aside to send genuine condolences, posting, "I know Puff is hit right now. He loved her for real. Soulmate type. Chin up, Puff. Positive vibes only." However, that ceasefire was short. The fire was reignited in October 2023 when Dwayne "Kefty" Davis was arrested for the 1996 murder of Tupac Shakur. Davis had previously alleged that Diddy placed $1 million hit on both Tupac and Suge Knight. 50 immediately took to social media, joking, "So Pac got lined by Brother Love, LOL," when Diddy appeared on a podcast dismissing the claims as nonsense. The damage had already been done in the court of public opinion. Then came the turning point. In November 2023, Cassie filed her landmark lawsuit, alleging a decade of sexual assault, physical abuse, and trafficking. Although they settled the very next day with no admission of guilt, 50 Cent refused to let it go. He pointed out the obvious contradiction, noting that Diddy first denied everything, but then the surveillance tape came out proving that every denial was a lie.
A lawsuit filed against Sean Diddy Combs accuses the music performer and executive of physical abuse and trafficking. The singer Cassie says the incidents occurred throughout her 10-year relationship with Combs.
The lawsuit was filed under a specific New York law that granted victims of alleged offenses a special window to pursue legal action even after the statute of limitations had passed, a crucial opportunity that was just days away from closing forever.
So I just wanted to be clear. This is a civil lawsuit. This is not a criminal lawsuit. There's no chance here as we stand for Sean Combs to go to jail. It's a civil lawsuit about money.
Legal experts immediately clarified the high stakes. This began as a civil lawsuit focused on financial damages, not a criminal case aimed at prison time. However, the severity of the allegations was undeniable. The claims included harrowing accounts of physical abuse and disturbing demands that Cassie perform sexual acts with others while Diddy watched.
Because these things happened years ago. So the statute of limitations is gone most places, but in New York, they have this law where they opened it up for a year and said if you're a survivor of assault.
The defense strategy was entirely predictable. They claimed the allegations were fabricated, exaggerated, and driven purely by financial gain. Their narrative was that Cassie simply wanted a piece of Diddy's massive fortune.
The first thing that comes to mind when we get these lawsuits in, not just of this nature, but any of them, is that the people are about money.
Attorneys familiar with the dynamics of abuse have explained why victims often remain silent for years. These relationships rarely start out as abusive. Instead, they build gradually, trapping victims in cycles that are difficult to recognize until they finally manage to escape.
When you're in a relationship for that long, sometimes things build up, where you go in and you're being wined and dined and everything is good, and gradually things get worse. So if I'm on her team as her attorney, I'm making it clear that that's what happened here.
The release of the hotel video in May 2024 changed everything. CNN published surveillance footage from 2016 that showed Diddy assaulting Cassie, kicking, dragging, and throwing her. It was undeniable visual evidence. 50 Cent immediately ramped up his attacks. When news broke that police raids had seized over 1,000 bottles of baby oil from Diddy's homes, 50 created a Diddy oil branding image that went viral instantly.
Physical evidence like videos and witnesses are very important for the person bringing the claim. Remember, Cassie has to prove this claim. All that Sean Combs has to do is make it so it's unbelievable, but Cassie has to prove it.
This marked the moment where 50 Cent's mission shifted from social media trolling to a high-stakes investigation. In September 2024, following Diddy's federal arrest, 50 announced that his documentary was no longer just a collection of internet jokes. It had evolved into a long-term strategy to expose the truth. NETFLIX officially picked up the project, and 50 made it clear that this was about more than a personal vendetta. It was a deliberate move to ensure that Diddy's actions weren't seen as a reflection of the entire hip-hop culture. By providing a platform for the voiceless, he turned years of public mockery into a definitive, documented account of a falling empire.
But Curtis, people know about this very public, long-standing feud that you had with Sean Combs. So what brought you to this project?
Well,
Was there anything that surprised you when you were watching the footage?
that didn't surprise me at all.
50 Cent explained his reasoning with surprising clarity, stating that if he hadn't spoken up, people would assume the entire hip-hop community condoned Diddy's behavior. He doubled down in an interview with GQ, arguing that if no one says anything, the culture itself looks complicit. The uncomfortable truth is that many other rappers stayed silent, preferring to mind their business due to the immense power and fear Diddy commanded for decades. 50 also explained why Cassie's story resonated with him. The fact that she entered Diddy's circle at just 19 changed his entire perspective on the power imbalance involved. The documentary became 50's way of distancing Diddy's alleged actions from hip-hop culture. Director Alexandria Stapleton made this mission clear, preserving the culture while holding one man accountable. In December 2024, 50 executed a calculated move by appearing on ABC News, one of the few stations inmates are allowed to watch in prison. When asked if this was intentional psychological warfare, 50 admitted it without shame, asking, "What's wrong with that?" The series finally dropped in December 2025. Across 4 episodes, it featured never-before-seen footage and testimony from alleged victims, all with 50 Cent's name attached as executive producer to ensure maximum visibility. Diddy's camp immediately fired back, labeling it a shameful hit piece built on stolen footage. His mother, Janess, also released a statement denying specific claims of family abuse depicted in the series. But 50 wasn't backing down. What began as a professional rivalry, everything from ghostwriting rumors to business wars, had transformed into a mission to prove hip-hop wouldn't stay silent. Just as 50 seemed to have won the narrative war, Diddy's sons, Justin and Christian, decided to fight back. On December 28, 2025, they released a trailer for a new docuseries in partnership with the Zeus Network, set for a 2026 release. The trailer showed the brothers watching courtroom footage and headlines before ending with Justin picking up a prepaid call from his father at Fort Dix. Zeus Network CEO Lemuel Plummer clarified that the project isn't about endorsing behavior, but about giving 2 sons a platform to share their own truth and experiences. The rapper is also father to 34-year-old Quincy, 19-year-olds Chance, Delilah, and Jesse, and 3-year-old Love. But the reality of 2025 is that the truth has become a weapon, and everyone is armed. Months earlier, in May 2024, King Combs fired the first shot with a track titled "Pick a Side." Christian didn't hold back, directly challenging critics and taking aim at 50 Cent and the No Diddy movement that had taken over social media. He defended his family name with everything he had, flipping the narrative on the federal raids by claiming the authorities were finding multi-million-dollar plaques rather than evidence of a criminal enterprise. He even took direct shots at 50 Cent, questioning who truly put New York on the map. It was a clear line drawn in the sand. Perhaps most shocking was when Christian alluded to things federal agents missed during the raids. Throughout the entire trial, both sons were in the front row every single day, supporting their father while the world watched and judged. To some, that's a level of loyalty that is hard to grasp. To them, it's simply family. However, that loyalty came at a price. During the March 2024 raids, Justin and Christian were temporarily handcuffed and detained as authorities searched the properties for evidence. Neither brother was arrested or charged, and their attorney, Aaron Dyer, condemned the actions as excessive force. The brothers watched their father's world collapse in real time, sitting through testimony after testimony and hearing allegations that would break most families, yet they stayed. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's documentary machine was already in full swing. Sean Combs. The Reckoning hit Netflix like a bomb, racking up 22 million views in just 6 days and reaching #1 in 49 countries.
I want to congratulate you, 50. I want to congratulate you on your docuseries, Sean Combs, The Reckoning. It's #1 on Netflix. Yeah. Like, it's been #1 on Netflix. Did you actually expect it to be as big as it got?
I expected it to be bigger. It's actually exceeded my expectations now.
50 Cent wasn't exactly hiding his victory lap. Across talk shows and social media, the man who had been targeting Diddy for 2 decades finally had the evidence the world couldn't ignore. Director Alex Stapleton highlighted the sheer depth of their research, which included 30 years of documentation. This exclusive footage captures Diddy in full crisis mode, dealing with lawsuits in real time as his carefully constructed public image begins to crack under the pressure.
The footage, well, I mean, I think it's rare to find someone who's being, talked about all over the country. All eyes were on him, so to speak.
This documentary included moments that genuinely caught people off guard. It seemed like Diddy forgot the cameras were even there. His public persona started to slip, and the reality behind the brand began to show. When the Combs brothers announced their project, 50 Cent naturally had something to say. He took to Instagram with his usual blend of sarcasm and pressure, posting, "Wow, I want to see this show. I'm not sure this was a good idea." It was classic 50 always stirring the pot and never missing a chance to weigh in. However, the situation shifted when Marlon Wayans entered the conversation. On the December 8, 2025, episode of the Cruise Show podcast, Wayans shared his perspective on these documentaries, the narratives being built, and what he believes is actually driving 50 Cent.
The audience is so beat down from years of Ricky Gervais. He done beat them. They like scared. They're like abused women in a new relationship. Like, as soon as the comedian comes on stage and they mention Mel Streep.
Wayans questioned the entire premise of the project, asking who is actually telling the story and what their real agenda might be. He pointed out the obvious. 50 Cent and Diddy have a long personal history rooted in beef, and that history colors everything we see. The backlash was almost immediate. 50 Cent fired back using his usual memes and threats, while Wayans doubled down with shots of his own. It turned into a back-and-forth social media war, the exact kind of conflict that feeds engagement, algorithms, and dominates the news cycle. Meanwhile, Diddy's 86-year-old mother, Janice, released her own statement to defend her son. She specifically addressed allegations from the Netflix series, including the claim that Diddy once struck her. She called it a complete fabrication, lies designed to paint her son as a monster.
There was so much empathy given, by the public for his kids. They all went to the sentencing and spoke, his daughters, and there was a lot of conversation about, during the trial, what his daughters were hearing when Cassie was giving these very horrific details.
These competing narratives have created something unprecedented. Multiple documentaries and perspectives, all fighting for dominance in the court of public opinion. The Zeus Network documentary promises a side that 50 Cent's version couldn't deliver: the family's voice, personal recordings, and behind-the-scenes footage from their own viewpoint. These intimate moments aim to show the destruction caused to everyone involved, not just the accused. Following his sentencing to 50 months on related convictions, Combs was transferred from the Metropolitan Detention Center in New York to Fort Dix in late October. He is currently scheduled for release on June 4, 2028. But beneath the surface-level noise, this isn't just about rival documentaries, family loyalty, or decades-old beefs. This is about power. It's a battle over who controls the narrative and who gets to define the truth when everyone involved has their own motives and receipts. As Diddy sits in Fort Dix for at least the next 3 years, his sons are launching a counteroffensive and his mother continues to defend his name. Meanwhile, former associates are sharing stories that are impossible to ignore, and 50 Cent is already teasing a second part filled with even more footage and interviews. The Combs brothers are facing an uphill battle. It's incredibly difficult to rehabilitate a reputation when the evidence feels this overwhelming and the world seems to have already made up its mind. Perhaps they aren't trying to change every opinion, but simply want to be heard. They are attempting to add complexity to a story that has been simplified into a villain versus victims trope, highlighting the collateral damage that often goes uncounted in celebrity feuds. These are competing truths in an era where everyone has a camera and a platform, and the audience is always hungry for the next chapter in hip-hop's most high-profile fall from grace.